So the Cancun Mission, it started a little bit before I received my mission call. It was started in 2014? No, 2013. There we go. And the presidents are Dale and Jill Kirkham from Pocatello, Idaho. And it split off from the Merida Mission, which is about 3 hours from Cancun, Merida, and it's where the closest temple is. The Cancun area, I guess, it up until about 30 years ago didn't really exist, and then when tourism started to become a huge part of the world, well, that's when it kind of started booming because so many people wanted to visit there. There were no stakes there when it started, obviously, but during my mission, just in our mission, there was the dedication of the 5th stake. And so over a few decades, I guess it's grown a ton. The boundaries are the entire state of Quintana Roo and then part of Yucatan. The people there are so interesting because they're from all parts of the world. If you go to Cancun or to Playa, they're from all different parts. I mean, you could get people from India, you could get people from Europe, United States, Canada, all over. And not just tourists, they live there. There's a lot of different languages. So in Yucatan, which is one of the states that is in our mission, there's a lot of people that speak Mayan. They don't speak Spanish. And so it's very neat. You get a different culture there. Plus there's a lot of ruins that are in our mission, Chichen Itza, Oxtanca, Tulum, a lot of different places to visit and see how much history there is there, especially with connection to the church and to the Book of Mormon. So it's very neat. So the houses are all made out of cement, and they're usually about 1 story high, and they're all right next to each other. So there's a start of one house, and there's another house, and another house, and another house, and a lot of people live in apartment buildings. They're very small houses. You usually have a room about this size, and then a little kitchen with a table, and that's usually the room you have. There's a lot of people that live outside that hang up their hammocks and sleep out there, and I don't know the exact word for it in English, but every door, every window has a reja. They're like metal bars that you put over so people can't break in. Besides that, usually the transportation is by bus. You can go in taxi, but it's a lot more expensive. So usually it's by bus. And when I mean bus, I mean a van, a 15-passenger van that they've taken the seats out of, and then they've put little benches in, and you have to stand or you have to sit down in there. And they usually fit about 25 people in there. So you can imagine it's a little crowded and a little hot, and they drive so fast, and you'll just flag them down from the side of the street. And so they'll start going really fast, they'll see someone flag them down and pull over really quick. And then they'll just wrench the door open. So you have to be really careful and hold on really tight, but it's kind of fun too. And then if you're traveling from one point to the other, which is further away, then you'll take a nicer bus, a nicer travel bus. But usually it's by taxi or a little van. There's also tricycle taxis. But as missionaries, we weren't allowed to ride in them just because they're a little more dangerous. And so you can ride in those. There's motorcycles, everything. So not many people have cars. Unless you go to the bigger cities, then a lot more will have cars. So my first area was Valladolid. I was there for 2 transfers. And the people are very sweet. They're very welcoming, I guess. You can come in, they'll give you food. It's just kind of slower paced. It's in Yucatan, and so it's just kind of a different culture. It's very homey, very, very humble, I guess you could say. The work there was also just kind of not slow, I guess you could say, but just walking the streets, you said hi to everyone. It was just kind of slower, the life there. My second area, I was there for 4 transfers, so I was there for a little bit of time. I was in Chetumal, which is the capital of Quintana Roo, and it's a bigger city. It's the capital, and so I think there's about 600,000. I'm not 100% sure how many people live there, but it's definitely a bigger city with a totally different culture. It's still a little slower and calm, but it was a lot easier. The people, though, are very Catholic. there's a lot of Catholics and there's a lot of people from a ton of different religions. And so I had always expected there to be just Catholics in Mexico, but there are a wide variety of so many different religions, and you learn so much about what people believe. My next area was still in Chetumal. It was in Bosque. It's in this area called Bosque. And even though it was in the same town, it was completely different. It was a lot more up-paced. There was a lot more people just in the streets. People really willing to listen to the message. And there were also a lot of members in that area. I mean, we would always see people on the street and they would tell us that they were members. Beyond that, I then served for 2 transfers in Playa del Carmen, which even more so was just, you can just imagine, it's the tourist place. It's like Cancun. And there's so many people on the streets all the time. Our area was huge and there were so many people. With any given day, you could talk to hundreds of people. There were so many people all the time. And being a bigger town and kind of closer to the coast, it was very break from the norm. And so people would listen to us. They would want to learn more. They were coming from all parts of the world, not just a rural town. They would want to learn more. As they moved to the big city, they would be more accepting of new ideas and to break the tradition and learn something else. And then my last area, I served by Valladolid again in a little town called Guayma. And it was the exact opposite of Playa. There were 2,000 people in the little town. There were hardly any cars. No one speaks Spanish there. They all speak Mayan. Everyone just lives in their little huts, in their little hammocks, and they always make their food. They make tortillas by hand. It was just completely opposite from Cancun or from Playa. Very slow, even slower than Valladolid, just, very methodical. And people were very accepting of the message, but it was very hard because everyone was so close in the town that there was a lot of tradition and there were a lot of boundaries to learn how to break and just be accepting of more things. But it was a beautiful town and it was my favorite area of the entire mission.